Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're in London at the Lecture Center, and we're very happy to welcome Khempo Sangay Dorje, who's coming from Nepal. He's here in the UK just for about 10 days, 8 days, so we're very lucky to have caught him on his visit. Khempo studied at Namjoling Institute, a very famous monastery in the south of India, from where many great scholars come out, and indeed it is the case with him. So we're very happy to have him today, and he will give us a general introduction to the Sutra tradition. And we're here also, we're having an exhibition of paintings by Drugul Choja Rinpoche here in London. And many of these paintings are based on some sutras. So to give some context, we've invited Khempo to give this talk today. We're very happy to have you here. And the talk will last about an hour or a little bit more. And then we can have some questions at the end. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Khempo.
So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Jameng already introduced me, so I think I don't need to introduce myself. So today, actually, I'm going to cover two sutra. And then this sutra is actually, basic subject of this sutra is about birth and death. So basically, birth and death is considered one of the most important things in our life. So really to talk about birth and death, it's a very vast subject. It cannot be completed within an hour one time. So, but however, I'll try my best to really give some idea about the birth and death according to these two sutra. So before jumping into the topic of the sutra, I would like to start from to give us a brief sort of idea about how Buddhism sees the birth and the death. So basically, birth means, if you go to a certain level of certain real context, we believe in reincarnation. We believe in the continuity of the consciousness of the soul. So when the person died, and then the person go into the intermediate state, what we call Bardo, and then after they complete the Bardo, these persons, the dying person, always seeks for a body, they always wish to have a body. So this intermediate state being is already dead. So he seeks a body. And then, so he enters into the mother wombs. And from there, the four elements, which is the basic foundation or basic material that really sort of begin to produce the body. So from very subtle level of four element, when it goes to the gross level of four elements, that process is called birth. And when our bodies, the four elements, when they have got a capacity or when they have a power or sort of capability to hold the consciousness there for a long time, that is called we are alive. And when the four element of a body lose the capability or doesn't have sort of power to hold the consciousness, and then this four level of element goes from very gross level to go to very subtle level. And then when the consciousness get apart from the body, that is called death. So this is how in Buddhism, how we describe about death, birth, death, and the alive. So basically, when we say human being, we are talking about the combination of body and mind. Because when the body and mind come together, then we can call it human beings. So this body and mind, two combinations, and this also not brought sort of out of blue, not without any cause and condition. This is also brought together because of our past karma. And then in order to understand, when I say two body, two combinations, one is physical, the body, and another is mind. And if you want to go into detail how this combination works, when combination works, is that in Vajrayana teaching in Tibetan Buddhism, we call five aggregate or five component. Our body, when I say I, when I say me, when I say human being, we are sort of combination of five aggregate or five component. The first is the physical component, the body that we have, the body that we have, that is also built up by the four elements. Basically, the body, physical body we have can touch, that can feel, we have is brought to the four element, like water element, like the earth element, and the wind element, and the main and the wind element. So these four elements sort of brought up our physical body. So that's why I call our body is brought up this four element, which we can call matter. In scientific term, we call matter the body. But our physical body is not like rest of the matters. The rest of the matter, they are innate nature. They don't have feeling like chair, tables. They're also built up by the matters, but our human body is a different kind of matter because our body, our physical body, possess consciousness, mind, that have feeling, that have perception, and so on. So our physical body contains another component, and that is called the second is the component of feeling. Once you have physical body, you're bound to have feelings. The feelings of pain, the feeling of pleasure, the feeling of neutral. So this is called the component of feelings. So once you have component of feeling, you have a component of perceptions, because you have pain and pleasure, and then you have perceptions as well, because a good perception, like I want to be happy, I want pleasure, that is something you want. And then I don't want pain, I don't want suffering, that is another sort that you reject. And that is neutral feeling, neutral sort of thing. You doesn't sort of what we call distinguish anymore. So that is called the combinations of perceptions. Once you have feeling, then perception arrives. And then another is called the component of formations. Because in order to create sort of perception in your mind, you need object, you need subject. You need to sort of bring your mind over there. And then their perception arises of liking, disliking, you want, doesn't want. And this is called the combination of formations. And the last thing is the combination of consciousness. Because of this consciousness, we are different than the rest of the matters, the rest of the physical, because now this consciousness that we have, this makes us human being, this makes us to feel, this makes us to want something, to avoid something, this makes us to have emotions, feeling, and everything. So therefore, when we have this five component, the combination of form, the physical body that we have, the component of feelings, the component of perceptions, the component of formation, and the components of consciousness. So these are the five all together, come together. That's we call ourselves a human being. Otherwise, if you rest of four we don't have, to become like innate nature, like a table and chair and so on. So because of having these all together five components, we call ourselves as a human being. So the first form, the combination of physical or combination of the form, the body that we have, this is also brought from the four elements, from our mother's blood and semen that we get from a mother that produce our body. And the rest of are considered the part of mind. The first component of form is considered a matter, and the rest of the four is a section considered into mind. So when we take birth in this time, we accept the combination of consciousness. All other components are raised or produced within this lifetime. For example, your body, your perceptions, your formations, your feeling, all are sort of produced within this lifetime. So when you die, when you pass away, so all of these four, except the component of consciousness, all the rest of the four will sort of cease to exist if your body disappears. Because if you don't have body, you don't have feeling, you don't have perceptions, you don't have need of formation, so on. So when you die, all this accept the combination of consciousness, the rest of the combinations sort of cease to exist. Only the consciousness will travel from one lifetime to next lifetime. So therefore, only the four will exist in this lifetime. When you die, it ceases to exist. But only the, what we call combination of consciousness will travel from this lifetime to next lifetime. So there is a continuity of the soul or continuity of the consciousness, which will brought us to next lifetime. So as you mentioned before, the rest of the four will produce within this lifetime because of our own karma, what kind of karma we have there, we got that kind of body, we need that kind of perception, we will get that kind of emotions. But when we die, all these four components, the rest of the four will disappear or cease to exist. Now the fifth combination of consciousness will only remain even we die, because there is no switch on and off to the consciousness from mind. Even you want to block your mind, you can't do that. Because mind is something that we have to be all the time. Whether you're sleeping, whether you're walking, whether you're eating, your mind is always there. Mind always continues. You can't sort of say, I just want to switch off my mind, or I don't want to think for a while. I don't want to, you want to be out of stress. You want to think, oh, I need to turn off my stress. I don't want to think anything. There is no switch off. Can't do that. Why? Because the mind continuously stays with us. Because that is the characteristic of the mind. Ever present, ever aware all the time. So you can't do that. So in this way, sometimes mind is, if you really have intelligence, if you know your mind, it's gifted to you, because you can use this intelligence and you can use to sort of bring benefit to yourself using that mind's intelligence. But you don't know your mind, how it works, how emotion works, how perception works. Then this same mind, which is gifted to you, become cursed to you. Because these minds, same mind, produce all sorts of suffering that we have been going through now. Stress, everything is because of this mind. So therefore, it is very much important to understand mind, how it functions, how it works, what are emotions, what are feelings. So you have to work according to that. And then whatever you're desiring, that you are wanting, you get it. But if you really don't know how your mind works, whatever you're expecting from life is totally opposite. It doesn't work. So the very mind is gifted to you, become cursed to you. So therefore, the fifth, last one, the component of consciousness is very important. Now, even our body, this body is like it's like a clothing. Next lifetime, we have to change again, different body, different body, different body. But the mind continues. It continues all the time. It doesn't stop. So, right now, today, in the Sutra that I'm going to talk about, also talk about the consciousness. So that's why I bring some brief explanation before starting the Sutra, so you can have a little bit understanding about what is consciousness that we are talking about. Here, whenever I talk consciousness, I'm talking about the continuation of the mind. So when it's continuation of the mind. So in this way, even our body, perception, thought, emotion cease to stop when we die. But again, mind continue. Again, next rebirth, we have to get a new body, new perception, new feeling, and so on. The new thing will occur. But the mind is same when this lifetime, the next lifetime. So this continuation of mind is remain all the time. So for this continuation of mind, different religions have different perception and different name. In Hinduism, this continuation of mind is called Atma or Paratma. They believe there is an eternal self that travels from one lifetime to the next lifetime, which bring us to the next lifetime. And in Christianity, this continuation soul is named as soul or God's spirit. In Islam, this continuation of consciousness is called Ruh. So they have different perspective. They have different definitions, so on. So we Buddhism also believe in continuation of mind, but we don't believe in very permanent or eternal soul. You may understand. That means the soul that is not eternal, that is soul is not something permanent, that is changeable, depend on what our kind of action, karma that we created. So in this way, this continuous soul, right now, whether we say we are being liberated, whether you're suffering, whether you're whatever feeling, whatever perception has, everything happening because of this continuation of mind. In religion, when you say liberated, it's talking about this continuation of mind to be liberated. When in every religion it says suffering, this means the suffering of this continuation. So that's why I'm going to give a brief explanation of the continuation. So today, the sutra that I'm going to talk about is the two sutra. The first is a teaching the Buddha given to his half brother called Nanda. He talked about the entry into the womb, how the consciousness, when they pass away, one person died, how this, again, the intermediate being, the consciousness, entry into the mother womb, and how, what kind of cause and condition are required to enter into the mother womb, and after entering, what kind of experience this soul experience, and how the 36 week of the embryo, how they develop the fetus and embryo, or the gestations will work in 38 weeks, according to the Buddha's teachings. And the next sutra, we're going to talk about the death, basically about the after death, what's going to happen after death. So first sutra that is called the teaching to the Nanda, entry into the womb. So this sutra was set when the Buddha was in Kapila Vastu, he's in what we call, is India. So he want to raise awareness about the birth. And then in this sutra, he's talking about the birth is not something positive. He's not talking the birth is something to be celebrated. He's not talking about birth is something positive that you should accept. Basically, he is pinpointing us, birth is suffering. Birth is nothing something to celebrate. Because of birth, we come into this world and we have to suffer. Once you have taken a birth in this world, you are bound to suffer. Because the cause and very much cause and condition which give you birth is negative. Our body or the birth we take, rebirth we take, because of negative cause and conditions. So negative cause and condition, because of negative cause and condition or negative sort of what we call causes, we take rebirth in this world. Because being birthed in this world is brought us from the negative cause and condition. That's why once we take a birth, the result is always negative. Then we suffer in this world. So this is how Buddha is going to talk about in the interview. So basically, when he started the sutra, he says to his brothers that I'm going to talk about you, how the consciousness, as I mentioned about the continuation of soul, entry into the mother womb, and then how all this process began, and then once people or the person get birth, how they suffer. So he says that in order to really the intermediate being, now here I'm referring to intermediate being means the person who's already dead, but hasn't taken rebirth. So that kind of state is called intermediate state. That is like what we call that person, or you can go in called ghost or something, a soul, wandering soul who hasn't received a new rebirth. It's already passed. So that state is called Bardo or intermediate state. Now this intermediate state being is that they always seek to take rebirth, or they always look for a path. So the intermediate state being always look for a body. So in order for them to enter into the mother womb, three cause and conditions are required. Three conditions are required to get into. The Buddha says that one, that the parents should have lustful thought or to desire. Second is the intermediate state being is present there. And third is the karma or the merit is in exact time. So they can bring all this intermediate state being, the mother, father, and all combination all together. So when these three is there, then the person who's dead can enter into the mother's womb. So what is first is thought, law school thought. That means the mother or the parents, they desire to have baby, or they're going into intercourse because of attachment or desire. So now, as I previously mentioned, our birth in this world is basically brought from negative emotions like desire and attachment. So in the first moment, parent has to have a desire, attachment to something, you know, self-interest or emotion-centered desire. And then the second is that the intermediate being has to be there in order to seeking body, to be really sort of what we call get entry into the mother wombs. And third is, as I mentioned, the karma, the previous karma, which take all this to come, soul and the mother and the parents in the exact time, and so the intermediate state being can enter into the mother. So why we are talking about soul and consciousness, why we need that intermediate state being is that even in order to sort of give birth, it doesn't mean that only the mother's blood, the red blood, or the father semen or the sperm is together, it can produce baby. No, not because these two combination is considered as a matters. Matter cannot produce soul or consciousness. It's different entity. If mother blood and sperm can produce soul or consciousness, that is against the nature. That means if it is possible, then the fire can produce water, and water can produce fire. Because water cannot produce fire because it's totally different entity, different nature. Similarly, mother and father coming together only cannot sort of give birth to baby. There has to be a soul, which is different entity. So this soul, as I mentioned before, is a continuous soul, continuity of the soul, the dead person's is. So this dead person's sort of what we call, because of perfect condition to get into mother wombs, the karma will bring, and the soul will get into the mother wombs. So while this this vertical soul get into mother wombs, they have also different sort of perception in thought arise in their mind, the dead persons, who are basically seeking to take rebirth. So they have in intermediate state, they have a lot of very awful experience. They had a really sort of fearful experience. They see a lot of rain, a lot of darkness everywhere, so on, so on. So they're so afraid of them. So they sort of seek take the rebirth or seek for the body all the time. So when they see the mother and father having intercourse, then in their perception, what they see is that they get a perfect sort of what we call spot to get out of the danger or fearful experience they have, to get rid of that. So they go there, and what they see is that also according to their own karma, they cannot see their mother womb. If that person is really have a good karma, then they see the mother wombs as a very nice place to sit, a nice place like what we call a palace, a house, or whatever they sort of prefer to stay to get rid of that sort of fearful experience. If the person is not that haven't accumulated good merit, then this person don't see the mother womb as a good places, but see as a cave or grass hut or the forest or something. So because they want to get rid of that dreadful experience they're having there, they want to get rid of that fearful experience, they want to enter into the mother wombs because of their perceptions, their false perceptions. And when they enter into mother womb, then while the mother's wombs have got the mother water of blood and sperms for the sperm serum together, then this consciousness get into that, so between that two of them, and stop there. Then again, the process of birth started. when the consciousness gets into them. So this is how the three conditions, the lostful thought of parents, the intermediate state being the soul who is seeking to take rebirth is present there, and the karma, how this karma will bring this soul to be a particular parents, to a particular country, to be the particular sort of sibling or the children of these parents. So the karma will work out. So this soul can enter into the mother. So in this way, when all these cause and conditions are come together, then the mother start to begin conceive the baby in his womb. So basically, as I mentioned before, the conscious, the intermediate state being, that soul has to be there. The mother and father, their what we call health has to be perfect. Otherwise, the mother cannot conceive the baby as well. And the third is that the karma have to work out to bring all this together so that they can enter into mother wombs and to conceive and to take her birth. So this is the three causing conditions. Now, in Sutra, it is also mentioned that while this intermediate state being, when they see the father and mother having intercourse, if the intermediate being, state being, have a desire towards his mothers and a hatred towards their father, then it means that he is now is bound to be, he is going to be take rebirth as a boy, as a male. And if he has a attachment to the father, but he hated mother, that kind of emotion arises, that means now he is going to be take birth as a female. Now again, the male and female also what we call decided what kind of sort of karma emotion you have while entering into the mother wombs. So this is also decided whether you are taking rebirth as a male or the female. So this is also why he's hating his father, why he's loving his father, because of his past karma and past sort of experience. That's why. Otherwise, we can't blame our father. For example, if you ask your parents, why you give me birth as a female? Why you give me as a birth? There is nothing. Father and mother can do nothing. They don't have in their hand. He didn't eat something and during his pregnancy, he ate something and he became female. It doesn't mean that he has done didn't do some exercise or something, you converted to female or boy or girl. No. So when you really see the reason behind why you birth as a girl or why you take rebirth as a boy, because of your own past karma and actions. Because while entering into the womb, you get hatred to your father and you get attached to your mother. And when you attach to mother, that means you are opposite sex. And then why you love your father, you hate your mother, that means you are going to be opposite sex. That means female. So this is how, while the entering into womb, that kind of emotion arises. And again, as I mentioned before, even with taking our birth because of negative emotion, now hatred and aversion, attachment, these are considered negative emotions. So because of these actions arise again and again, and then as mentioned before, birth is a product of the negative emotions. So this is how the consciousness enters the mother womb, and then in the mother wombs, the four elements, as I mentioned before, fire element, the water element, the earth element, and the wind element come together in order to produce our physical body that we have. And then again, of course, the current body that we have, that we got from our father and mother, is a product of these four elements. As I mentioned before, when consciousness go into the mother and mother wombs, when we have what we call, I don't know, in a scientific term, what is it called? There's a cell breakout, something that called, I forget the name. So the consciousness goes into between mother blood and combination with the father's serum. And then these things whole sort of four element, basically the four element will work up together to give the body that we have. Because in our body, while we are taking birth, this element is very subtle, small. And now when the subtle four element work together with the combination of all these four elements, and slowly, from very gross, subtle level to the gross level it goes, then we get our body in our mother wombs. So again, normally the four elements are naturally always against each other. Like fire element is heat, water element is cold. It has to be opposite, supposed to be opposite. It doesn't coexist same time. But now during the process of birth, it do coexist and it help each other to build body. Because why? Because of our karma. Again, the karma, that means our previous karma, make them work together, make them coexist to produce body that we have. Otherwise, this four element also like didn't coexist, it go against each other. Now the karma play a very role in order to make these four elements all together so it can build, produce the body that we have. So four element is also very important. Now when I say four element, I'm not talking about the air that we feel right now. The earth element means basically that function like a function of solidity. The water is what the function of fluidity. Yes. And the element of fire work as a function of heat, and the wind element function as a mobility. So when these four elements come together, and then the consciousness is there, then it is started to produce all the, from smaller cell to your muscles, body, blood, whatever we have right now. So these four elements work together to produce our body. And of course, there is a consciousness because of that. And among these four elements, the wind element work the key role in order to really sort of hold this consciousness in that position, and then to really produce body, because wind element is the most powerful element among the four elements. For example, wind also have a gross level to very subtle level to gross levels of wind. Right now we are breathing is a very gross level of wind. Right now we feel we are breathing, but because right now our body is moving, we can blink your eye, you can move your hand, leg, everything. Why? Because of wind element. Wind element sort of right now is functioning our body. Right now your body has a heat because of the heat fire element. Your body has a space inside because of space element. Your body is moisture, your body have tears, you have saliva and so on because your body has a water element. So basically, as I mentioned before, we are built up by this four element. And when the four element sort of goes from very subtle level to the gross level, that process is called birth. And then we already have a very gross level of four element, that is our body right now, which can hold our consciousness. It have a capability. Whenever it have a capability and power to hold our soul into that is called alive. And when these four elements diminish, lose power to hold the consciousness, or lose what we call at its own capability, then it diminish, it goes from very gross level to the subtle level, and the consciousness go apart from our body. That is called death, as mentioned before. So in this way, Buddha has talked about the four element also play a very key role to give birth to the baby in the mother wombs. So this four element play a role. And then when we are talking about the birth, there is also four way of taking birth. The first is taking birth from the eggs. The second is taking birth from the mother wombs. The third is taking birth from the heat and moistures. And fourth is called instant birth. The first is, of course, the egg. The birds have to be born from eggs. And second is mother wombs, like us human beings and other mammals that who give birth from the what we call mother wombs. And then the third is called birth from the motion heat, that is like worms, bacteria, and so on. They don't have to get into mother womb, or they don't get lay eggs. Whenever there is a heat and moisture in a certain conditions, then it gives rise to bacteria and worms altogether. And the fourth is called emptiness rebirth, very instant rebirth. That means whenever you have done something bad, when you die, if you want to have to be go into hell realm, you just instantly reach there with your body. You don't have to go the process of the birth. You don't have to get and take a birth and get bigger and raise, get older. Whatever body you have, body appearance you have right now, will take instant rebirth to the hell. That is called the instant rebirth. So there is generally four kind of birth. But today we are going to talk about the giving birth from the mother wombs. As I mentioned before, that's how this is three conditions called come together: the consciousness, the element, all karma come together. Then it gives birth to the baby. And then once the consciousness is already entered the into mother womb, and these four elements come together, then in Buddhism, in this sutra, has talked about the gestations, or the what you call building of the embryo and the fetus for 38 weeks. In 38 weeks, gradually the in the mother homes, what we call this baby trying to build. And it described similarly in our modern science how the process of pregnancy is described right now. In the first week, it seems like a yogurt, because the further mother's blood and the further serum all together is feel like a yogurt in that time. And the second week, it become like a butter, a little bit harder. And the third week, it become more harder substance. And gradually from the 4, 6, 7, 8, it gave rise to the your what you call your limbs, hands, and so on. So actually, in this way, actually, I want to talk about all the process of the what we call embryo, how embryo and the fetus work together. But as a time restraints, so I don't want to go into detail. So anyhow, but in our modern science, it's already proven. You can, I think you have all have a knowledge about how the fetus and the embryos are built in mother wombs in 38 weeks, slowly. And so it's the same thing as Buddha has mentioned 2,500 years ago in this sutra, that how the fetus will do, how in the different week, different part of body, like nerves, blood, the sort of skin, and then all the muscles are built. So already sort of detailed, sort of explained in this sutra called the entry into the womb. And this sutra has become the one of the source for typical Tibetan medical to be source of the embryology, to learn about the pregnancy and so on. So in this way, Buddha has taught about the 38 weeks, how the consciousness get into mother wombs, and how the four elements totally sort of work together to give a birth, to give the birth to the baby. And then in this process, Buddha says that even baby, once this consciousness enter into the womb, it get fainted, it get unconsciousness into that womb, then slowly the body will build up. And during the process of pregnancy, babies still sort of this consciousness which enter into motherhood still feel a lot of suffering. He mentioned that on 27 and 26 weeks, when mother eats something hot, this baby feel like his body is totally burned out. If mother drinks something cold, it's like the baby feel like he or she is totally frozen. If the mother movement is so quick or jump here and there, he feel like he's falling out of mountain, or a sort of very huge stone has sort of crushed him. Such kind of experience is also feel in the so to the baby. That means while pregnancy, baby is not happy inside. He's not having a good time there. Even in pregnancy time, the consciousness, the body, the baby that is present have to go through suffering. And then finally, in the 38th week, when the baby given birth, whenever a baby is taken in a towel or by the hand, he feel like he's been skin alive, skin alive. He's a that kind of soul feeling. That's why the baby cry while they're taking a birth. They don't smile. They don't come out mother womb sort of having smile or having feeling. He feel like he's like whenever the people touched him, he feel like his skin alive. He's been so painful of experiencing it. So that's why Buddha says that having birth is suffering. That's why. And now after the baby's birth, now Buddha also talk about, now okay, you take rebirth, it doesn't mean now you will have a good time. Now he says, again, there are more than 80,000 type of worm, or we can call it bacteria or cell, is there sort of to let you suffer. Then he talked about 84,000 type of wounds, that how it make us get old, how it make us weak. Whenever, whatever sort of medicine you try, whatever exercise you do, whatever good food you eat, eventually your body will give up. Eventually you will get old. Eventually you will get sick. So he talk about 84,000 type of wounds will already sort of in our body, which will day by day, second by second, minute by minute, it sort of make sort of our body worse and worse all the time. And then later he talked about the eternal suffering. That means the disease that we get. He talked about there is a 404 disease that is already present there to attack us anytime. We are bound to get sick. We are bound to get disease. We are bound to get sick. And he talked about the external suffering that we get from other people, harm from other people, like suffering, stress, heartbroken. You're not getting what you want. You're not being happy. You're never satisfied with everything what you have. So all these things, the problem, the stress, the suffering that we are getting in this world, because we have taken birth. And then, as mentioned before, the birth is a product of something negative, and then birth will always produce a result as a negative. That means we are bound to suffer. So what Buddha says, the birth is suffering, then what to do? We are, it's a nature of suffering. We have to suffer. Some may say, okay, what a big deal, everyone is suffering, so am I. You said like that, something like that. We are bound to suffer. But no, Buddha is saying is that, of course, we all are brought in this world because of a karma, something done bad. I take a little but human being have a capability. Human being have a sort of ability to get rid of their suffering. They can get rid of their suffering, and whatever the sort of desire they have, looking for happiness, they can achieve it, because we have got this intelligence, this mind, which is so brilliant. If you really know your mind, if you really work out with it, whatever what you want, happiness, joy, you can get it. And whatever thing you don't want, like suffering and pain, you can avoid it. So Buddha say, of course you're taking this reward, you're bound to suffer. But still, if you really sort of know your mind, you really sort of know how your mind works, you will suffer less comparing to other people. If you don't know your emotion, you don't know your feeling, you do nothing, then of course, how much you seek happiness, you go into wrong path, you go into wrong way, you bound to suffer more. So that's why in Buddhism we talk about always try to sort of try to reflect inward in your mind, because happiness and suffering is both state of mind. If you want happiness, this is your mind, state of mind. If you're suffering, it is also state of mind. So happiness and suffering is both state of mind. It's not something externally. If you want happiness, happiness is not something externally there. It comes inside you. No, suffering is also same. Suffering is not something demon or outside evil, something that will harm you. Nothing. Suffering is also a state of mind. So if you don't really reflect inward, you don't see your mind, you don't know how your mind works, then you suffer a lot, because you are looking something not internally but externally. For example, ordinary being we are. When we say happiness, what we're looking for money, family, friends, possessions. Of course, we need money, family, good house, good car, and so on. But Buddha is saying that this is not the authentic source or reliable source of happiness. These things like money, fame, house, family, these can also bring suffering. At the same time, this brings happiness and pleasure to you, but at the same time, this will also bring suffering to you. So this is not a reliable source of happiness. And then what is the reliable source of happiness? Is eternal. You're looking into your mind, being what generating positive emotion like kindness and compassion. Whenever you generate kindness, compassion, it's always produce happiness. It always produce joy. You know, there isn't any moment when you produce, when you sort of, when you're kind, it is a nature. It is a nature itself that whenever you're kind or compassion, it is nature. It will always produce positive emotions like happiness and joy. When you get angry, when you're jealous, when you are too much sort of what you call hatred is there, its nature is always produce something negative emotions. It doesn't produce any positive emotions. For example, when you get angry, then even your body react in negative way. Your blood pressure go up. If you have asthma, you have problem. When you see negative emotion is so destructive, it only not disturb your mind, but also disturb your body as well. So in this way, Buddha is saying what is really meant to say is that even we are brought, rebirth, take birth in this world, we're bound to suffer, but still, within this lifetime, we do have very gifted, that is our intelligence, our mind. If you really work out, if you really educate yourself, then you really get rid of your suffering, and then you can achieve what your happiness you're looking for. So in this text, in this way, Buddha want to this sutra entry into the womb. Basically, what he want to show is that birth is suffering, and then we can interrupt it. You can be capable to interrupt it. You don't have to take rebirth and suffer again. You have this body which is bound to suffer, bound to sick, bound to age, bound to die. You don't have to do that. That is, you can interrupt by acquiring a knowledge, by acquiring the wisdom, by realizing the mind, how it works, and so on. So in this way, we can interrupt and then we can stop taking rebirth. So basically, he's talking about there is a solution as well. So this is how he talked detail about the what we call process of embryo, how the consciousness enter into womb, all these things, and also the detail of the sickness, disease, and everything. Basically, what he meant is that you don't. Birth is something nothing to celebrate, but birth can be far worse than death itself. Because once you take your birth in this world, you have to go through a lot of suffering all the time, physical suffering, mental suffering, and so on. There's no choices. You have to go through. So that's why Buddha is saying basically, birth is suffering. And he's also saying that this birth is not something came out of blue, not having any cause and condition. He's saying you yourself create those cause and condition to rebirth in this world, to take birth, and to get all this physical and mental suffering. You yourself brought that to that position to take rebirth. And he is saying that you yourself is a creator of yourself. It doesn't, and there isn't any third party or external who assigned you to take rebirth here. For example, not any God come here and say, okay, you are going to take birth in England in this particular location, in this particular form. No, no one has assigned you your own karma. If you have done something good in your previous life, for example, in Sutra, one Sutra, it's called Abhidharma Kosha. It's kind of science of Buddhism. In this, one of the very famous Buddhist scholars says that if you want to see your previous life, what you have done, you don't have to need a clairvoyance or prediction. Just see your present condition. If you are healthy, if your life is good, you're having a good food, good shelter, good job, you don't have stress, that means you have done something good in your past lifetime. And again, if you want to know your future life or what happened going to afterlife, you don't need any prediction or clairvoyance on your power. Just see your present actions, your day by day actions. Is it your day-to-day work or day-to-day job or day-to-day action is harming anyone? Or is it really bring some positivity? Is it negative? It is harming anyone? Is it creating something difficult to other people? If it's creating, if your day-to-day job is creating more negative actions, negative emotion, that means your future also going to be a negative. If your day-to-day job, your perception, your day-to-day thought, your day-to-day action is positive, that means you create positive. So generally, what Buddha is sort of trying to embrace that you yourself brought to this world to suffer yourself. There's no one, and no one can help you. Only you yourself can liberate yourself from the suffering of your own. No one can help you. But there is a way how, as I mentioned before, reflect inner, work with your emotion. So far in this modern world, we have so advanced in materialism, external world. We know everything about external world from very atomic level to very subtle level. We know everything. You eat this thing, is benefit for bone. If you eat this thing, medicine, something. But we never reflect inside. We don't know how emotion works. If you just shut down your eyes for a while, for a second, your mind is distracting. You can't control your mind. For example, you say, okay, I am going to think about love for 3 seconds or 3 minutes. No, you can't do that. Your mind will jump here, there, him, there. Or you say, okay, I will get angry for 5 minutes. You can't do that. You can't do that because you are out of your control of your mind. You can't control your mind because you have never sort of reflect your inner yourself and you never learn how mind works, how emotion works, how thought works. That's why you burst out. Something not goes again your wish, just show anger. Something goes you become happy. It's just you never seek inward, never seek inside. That's why something small problem appears so big to you because you become so narrow-minded. So in this way, you don't know how mind works. That's why small problems give you a lot of distress, stress in your mind. If you really work out your mind, you know your emotion. If you know how to handle your mind, small problem will appear, will exist small, and then you will find the solution to overcome that sort of problems. Otherwise, this small problem will dominate in your mind, and then it will ruin your whole day, your whole sort of lifetime. So therefore, it's very important in sort of to reflect in our own mind, think about emotions, how it works, how thought works. That's why, as I mentioned before, it's very important to really learn about mindset. So in Buddhism, this teaching that also is taking, it says that entry into the womb. He's not talking about some body going into the womb. He's talking about the continuous soul or continuous consciousness is going into the womb. And this consciousness is right now that we have. Right now you can think, right? You can listen, right? You can sort of observe. Why? Because you have that consciousness in your body. You have that sort of capability right now, your mind. So Buddha is talking about this mind is so powerful. It can give you whatever you desire, what you wish for. If you don't work out with it, then ultimately you're going to suffer. So this is how Buddha is teaching about into the what we call talk about the birth. And as I mentioned before, birth is nothing to celebrate. As mentioned, Buddha mentioned that once you take in birth, you're bound to suffer. That is war. Birth is worse than death itself. Because when you die, you don't have to go through all these things. But when you're alive, you have to sort of go through a lot of problem and suffering in this world. So that's why the Buddha. So in generalized, as I mentioned before, birth is suffering, but however, we can overcome with our own intelligence and wisdom. So in this sort of sutra, he talked about the nature of birth is suffering. And now we go into the next sutra. That is the sutra name is cautioning regarding death and transmigration. the name of the sutra says questioning regarding death and transmigration. So this sutra is set up or origin during the time of Buddha himself, when his father, Buddha's father named King Shuddhadam, Buddha's father was a king named Shuddhadam. So while he was there, he sees that during that time, because on that places it's full of a lot of Hindu peoples who do a lot of rituals for the dying people. So on that time, this king Shuddhadam saw a lot of rituals carry for the dying persons. For example, there is a Hinduism, there is a kind of tradition to offer a rice ball, a ball which is made of rice, to the dead persons, to make ensure there are smooth transitions to next lifetime, or to the forever remain into the world of death. So he saw all this ritual and all this thing, and he was so curious. He was so curious to know why they carry this ritual, and is there really benefit? Is this ritual really benefit to the dead people? So he got a lot of question was raised into his mind. So he go into the present Buddha and he asks Buddha 7 questions regarding the after that. So first question is, he says, do being take rebirth of their own kind? For example, if human die, do they have to again? Do they born again as a human? If this God, do they has a birth as a God? If this animal die, do they have to birth again as an animal? And Buddha says, no, it's not necessary work in that way. Because again, as mentioned before, whether you want to take birth as a human or animal, it depends on your actions. For example, if you have accumulated a karma to take a rebirth as a human being, then you will be a human being. Otherwise, you can be animal. You can in next rebirth you can be a cat. You will be a dog, a cow, anything. So in this way, Buddha says no. There is no permanent transmigrations. You can be animal, you can be insect, you can anything. It depends on your own what sort of karma you have accumulated right now. So there is no permanent transmissions. And again, the second question he was raised, and he says, does when people die, the soul will be like disappear or doesn't exist? And Buddha again said, no, the soul will continue. Because not only Hinduism, there is a school called Charvaka. They believe that after human being passed away, when they did, the soul will just disappear into the space. But that is not so. If it has happened, then it's very good. Then in this lifetime, we can have fun, we can enjoy anything, and then we disappear in the space and the sky. There's nothing to do. We don't have any sort of result or fruition there. So simple. But it doesn't happen in that way. Because as I mentioned before, we in this lifetime, we have already created to take rebirth. We have already created cause and condition to take rebirth as a human, animal, so on. Our lives goes continuously. For example, in this way, we have to go in continuous way. So this kind of idea is also happening in Christianity also. We say rest in peace. That means the person who's going to die is going to be in a peace forever. But we wish after die we remain in a peace, but it's not going to happen. We have to face many terrible things even after we die. We have to lot of things to experience, a lot of painful sufferings is there to encounter. Even I wish I don't want to take rebirth, or I want to rest in peace after my death. It won't happen. It won't happen as we wish. As I mentioned before, you already created a cause and condition to take a rebirth again and again this lifetime, and again to suffer, because your actions is sort of orientated to take rebirth and to face a lot of suffering. Your day by thought, your day-to-day thought, your day-to-day action is creating a lot of karma to take rebirth again and again in different realms, even human or animal. So So even you wish to just switch off your soul, I don't want to take rebirth, we can't do that. We don't have that kind of freedom. For example, who decided that you will become a British? You didn't say, oh, I will take a rebirth into the England, London on this particular family. No, you are you don't have freedom, you don't have choice. In next rebirth, you might be in Africa, you might be in Asia, everywhere, you don't know right now. Because your karma will take you to the different realm, different place, whatever conditions and whatever sort of circumstances that you are going to experience, your karma will bring. So Buddha is saying that there is no switch off. The soul will disappear, but rather it will take rebirth again and again because of your karma. You can't sort of, you don't have freedom as you wish that you rest in peace. So Buddha says that no, the soul will continue. And the third question is that he says that if the wealthy person die, does he again born as a wealthy? And he say, if the poor person die in next rebirth, will he be again a poor in the same family? Again, Buddha said, no. The poor and again the wealthy, this also don't permanently transmigrate. It doesn't mean that you're rich this lifetime, you become rich next life. No. Because the rich and poor, as mentioned before, also have caused from laws of common conditions. Buddhas have gave a lot of analogies. For example, within this lifetime, if one people can be a rich in his early age and totally get bankrupt and get poor in his middle age, can possible. Then how one people cannot be a poor in this lifetime and can be wealthy to another like next lifetime? How one rich people can be rich in this lifetime and cannot be a poor in the next lifetime? It's possible because within one lifetime, people can be a rich, be a poor, again rich. A poor people can be a rich people can go to poor. So he gave this kind of analogy that rich and poor is not something that you sort of have a privilege to all the time. No. Your own action, your thought, again, your sort of daily sort of thought and action depend on you want to be rich or poor. If you're generous all the time, then in next time, it's guaranteed that you're going to be rich. If you're stingy, you're not eating yourself also very good. You're not even giving a single penny. Such means, such stingy that you are incapable to give. Even you have enough money, when you can't give, donate, or cannot be generous, that means you are going to be poor. You don't have to ask Buddha or God what you are going to be. You just see your present condition. Are you generous? You have to be sure that you're going to be rich next time. If you're stingy, mean, you're not eating yourself well, you're not giving other, it is confirmed that in next lifetime you are going to be poor and miserable. So this is how Buddha is saying that. And sorry, I'm getting into, and then in another question, let's mix up the questions here. Yeah, and in the third question, it says that being after that, does they live on or they be like befriend with their ancestor? And there is another sort of ideology in Hinduism also. They believe that when the people pass away, they will so go with their ancestor and then live forever there. That kind of idea was also, that kind of notion was also there on that time. And Buddha again say, no, that's not possible. Not possible. It doesn't mean that you live forever with your sort of ancestor. You don't have to take rebirth. No. And Buddha again said, for example, because right now your relative can see you, perceive you. Why? Because we have body. For example, your relatives can recognize you, love you, feel you because you have body, appearance, your body. When people die, they don't have body. They only the soul was left. And Buddha is saying, how can uh, people can recognize you without your body, without your appearance? For example, in this lifetime, if you don't have body, people can't recognize you. No one will recognize you. So Buddha is saying, when we die, body will left together. And your ancestor is like, they are long time ago. How can he recognize this is my sort of lineage? This is sort of my uh, what we call grandson or something. He said the ancestor can't realize logically, can't realize because nobody had never met you, never seen you. So Buddha give this kind of analogy. This is not possible. That ancestor, you go to the ancestor and he will know you. He says it's not possible. Because after that, there is no body, there is no identity, they can't recognize you. So Buddha is saying that is also he's saying there is no possible to be befriend with your ancestor. And again, in the fifth question, he says again same thing. For example, in this lifetime, if being in this lifetime, people ride horses, elephants, so forth, good food and good clothing wearing. Does people again in that lifetime do so? He said no again. He gives the same analogy as before that in order to be so, your present action, the present karma will decide whether you will reach or your good life in the next lifetime. And then on the sixth questions, they ask that because the king Shuddhadan saw people offering foods to their relatives, dead persons, and then he asks whether really dead people can consume it, eat it, the food offered by their relatives. And Buddha gave another analogy. He said, no, how we can consume a raw food without having a body? We cannot. Because when people die, they don't have body. Without body, they can consume the raw material foods and so on. No possible to do so. He said, so while even how much food or drink you offer to that person, they can't consume because they don't no longer they have body. They don't have physical body. They can't consume the food. But we Buddhists believe that dead people can consume through smell. They can smell. Smell, if you burn something to offer like food and something, the smell they can consume the smell. For example, why is this? Because dying people also have to go through experience of death and hunger, experience of hunger and thirst. For example, if you don't eat food for a whole day, you are so starved, you're starving, and then suddenly you go into the kitchen and then you smell the smell of pizza. This smell make you like you have eaten the pizza, even you have not solidly you have chew and go into your mouth, but just smell feel like you're starving, your hunger are suffering, spend less. You don't feel that much of hunger yourself. So similarly, dying people have dead people also go through a lot of pain or suffering of hunger and thirst. So just smell will make them get rid of that hunger and thirst. So that's why in Buddhism we burn food and sort of offer the food. So in this way, Buddha says that if you make a offering food, just not by saying that I want to offer, but there has to be a connection, a merit. And then on that time, what they do is that they offer a horse, they offer a clothing, they offer a food, all these things that, in front of dead people. And it's useless because it's no use to the dead people. But Buddha said that, of course, directly this dead person cannot consume this thing, cannot get this good food and good clothes to wear because he doesn't have physical body. But what you can do is that use this material for something to what we call in a virtuous activity, like donate it to some people. Donate this food to something who want food and drinks, or do something virtuous activities on name of the dead person. And when you do something virtuous activity, it generate merit, it cultivate merit, and this merit you can dedicate on behalf of that person. If you do so, then certainly that can bring a lot of benefit to that person. Otherwise, how much food or drink you offer that person is not worth. As mentioned before, it has to create a connection between the dead and the living person by doing something good virtue, and this virtue will generate merit and dedicate this merit on name of the dying person, saying, oh, I have donated food on my on behalf of my father, beloved father, and may whatever merit accumulate from this virtuous activity, may this merit help my father to take good rebirth in the next lifetime. May he born into a very nice family, a nice country, or may he born in a very nice family in a nice condition, a nice situation. If you do so, this will work out. This is how Buddha has said in this sutra to have offering directly food doesn't work, but that food, if you dedicate work, if you what we call donate that food and sort of in a virtuous sort of activity, and then it sort of cultivate merit and dedicate that merit to that person, and then certainly will bring benefit to that person's. And again, in the 7 questions, this 7th question, he raised the question, says that he heard about that when people die, they will again come back to their family and then speak about their story. They will what we call, they will go to their parents, siblings, children, and then these dead people will tell a story or something, or a story, a secret or something like that. He heard like that, and he asked question to Buddha: is it true that the died will again come back to their children, sibling, and so on, and then they talk about the history, their experience, so on? And Buddha's answer was no, they can't, because in order to speak, he need a vocals, he need a body, as I same previously as mentioned. He doesn't possess a body. How can he can speak? Dying person can't speak, but because he only doesn't have a body, he can't speak. The dead person can't speak. But however, he says that there are a lot of cases of dying person coming back to their parents and speaking and so on. He said these are not their own people, but these are created by some evil spirits, what we call in Buddhism we call it preta, evil spirit, who are also looking for food and drinks, and then he deceived this what we call dead person's relatives and trying to get food and drinks from them. So they what we call pretend to be a dying person, come to and to speak to them. So he says that like that. This can happen, but dying people itself can't speak, can't come to contact with their people or speak, because they don't have a physical sort of body. So in this way, the entire 7 questions, whatever he asks, Buddha says no to every question, because these questions, as mentioned before, what this he's saying is that because in Hinduism they believe that soul will, after people die, soul will disappear into space. There no existence of the space. He say no to that. Soul do exist, it will continue. And another question what implies that we become rich in this lifetime, can be rich on like another lifetime, another life, another life. This can also can happen. He said that if you want to be rich into many lifetime, you have to create cause and condition. And then what he implies that whatever happened in our life, because of some cause and conditions, nothing happened out of blue. You didn't take rebirth in the London because of the blue. I didn't take a rebirth in Asian country because after blue. No, there is cause and condition. He is implying that everything happened, even you die, rebirth, whatever, because there is a certain cause and condition to you bring to such situation. He implying that. And another instinct implying that within this 7 question, he's saying that there isn't any third party, like a god or something like supernatural human being, who will decide you will sort of take rebirth in this world, you will become a rich, you will become a poor. It's nothing something written, or nothing something someone so commanded you to be so. He's saying that you have created those cause and conditions yourself, and you're going to suffer, or whatever sort of situation we are right now is done by yourself. So this is how he is going to imply within this answer, saying no to every answer. Okay, so we'll continue after next time. Everything happened because there is cause and condition. Nothing is happened out of blue. Nothing situation, any situation you are, it's happened because certain cause and condition brought that situation to happen. So in order to imply that, in order to sort of understand that, he gives these answers to the question. And in the rest of the sutra, he also gives 6, what we call 8 analogy regarding to, as mentioned before, what we call everything happened because of cause and condition. There isn't anything situation without out of blue, or there isn't any third party or a third agent who decide everything what happens to our life. So basically, he's saying that whatever happened in our life, we ourselves have created that cause and condition to be. And then he's saying that there is a next life, rebirth. We are bound to take rebirth because we are already creating a lot of cause and condition in this life to take rebirth. We are bound to be suffer because we ourselves, our daily actions, our thought, emotion is sort of bringing us onto that path to get again into the what we call into suffering. So in this way, Buddha has question is answer is what we call answer all the 7 questions and also show him the cause and conditions we created, and these cause and condition is brought the situation that we are right now. So this way, how Buddhism talk about the relation between the result and cause and conditions. Everything is totally interconnected. What we call everything that we are suffering right now because of our own actions. And again, as mentioned before, if you want to be in a good rebirth, if you want to be a what we call in a good condition in the future, you have to observe your present thought and actions. If your present action is bad, then you are bound to suffer. If your present action and thought are positive, it gives positive results. So in this way, he want to imply, he would answer these questions to this King Shuddhadan, and he just let him realize that the things not going to happen as you wish, okay? Not going to happen wish, but it's work. Every situation is going to be come out of your own action and karma. So this is how he implied in this sutra or the questioning regarding the death and transmigrations. And then here the word we use transmigration. Transmigration means something has to go from one places to another. So the very much the word transmigration with that used in this word is to imply that now the soul will continue from this lifetime to the next lifetime. There isn't any switch off. There isn't any soul going to disappear. It doesn't mean when you passed away, when you die, the soul will disappear into space. No, no. Again, your this lifetime, whatever sort of cause and condition you have created, whether you have created a positive cause and condition, whether you have accumulated and gathered positive cause and condition, then this cause and condition will give you a good positive life in the future life. If you have gathered the negative cause and condition, then this will bring a negative sort of future life to you. So that's why, as mentioned before, it is very important to observe your present thought, your actions, so on. So this will define so whatever sort of future life that you are going to have or your situation you are going through. So in this situation, in this way, the sutra implies the everything, as I mentioned before, is totally connected with your present situation, present thought and actions. Okay. So again, what I'm going to say is that in this both sutra, in previous sutra, in the entry into the womb, talk about the birth, being, suffering. The nature of birth is suffering, and this birth is because of the this is a product of negativity that you are bound to suffer. And the next sutra, after that, it talk about if you want to have a good life, not only just forget about the next life, even tomorrow or next hour or next minute, you want to be a peaceful or happily live. This peaceful and happy or joyful you're looking for, it doesn't come externally, what is meant to be. It doesn't come by external force or external material. It has to come through your internally to your mind. How kind of actions you're carrying, what kind of perception you're carrying, what kind of emotion you're carrying, so on. So this is how the sutra define the what we call the subject of birth and the death. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kampala. And this talk, very broad, philosophical talk, also it helps very much to contextualize these paintings. Two of them are based on the sutras that he was talking about. So perhaps we can have some questions. If anybody has, then we can have a drink, because I know Khempo will be interviewed now by the YouTube channel of Londonese. So after his interview, maybe then we can have a little tour and I can tell you a little bit more, because you'll have a visual representation. It will be also more clear to contextualize. So thank you, it's very useful. And if anybody has any question, please, this is the moment. Anything, don't be shy. It can be simple, silly question.
Yeah, anything.
My question is regarding death. So how do you see these days, once you're born, you have your body, but your body has, in this scientifically, your DNA. If you have children, your DNA is passed on. So even though your consciousness is not passed, but your kind of like thoughts and your kind of like wisdoms and this might be passed on to children, or your DNA is passed on to your children. So they kind of like your physical body sort of lives on in your DNA. About the Buddha kind of view that kind of thing.
Okay.
Is modern days.
Let me repeat the question for the.
Yeah, sure.
So the question was, from a Buddhist perspective, how does the fact that DNA, which is passed on to your children once you die, is there some sort of continuation of your character or sort of karma, let's say, through DNA?
Okay. First, in order to understand that, you have to understand the concept of body and the soul itself. Now, when we are talking about the body, right now, a very subtle body that you can touch, feel, and so on. There's a different level of body. For example, very subtle level of body right now, we can't feel. It's like energy, in the channel, we call it channels. And the mind itself also different levels. Right now, you can see, you can hear, very active. This is very gross level of mind. And when you sleep, the six senses sort of disappear. And now, during your sleep, you go to a little bit subtle level of mind. Now you can't hear, you can't see, you can feel. But it doesn't mean you're dead. Mind is there. And then in the deep sleep, there's no more dream, but still mind is there. You're not dead. Even you can't hear, nothing you can feel. And there's a very subtle mind during the death, when the soul leaves from the body, we call the very subtle mind. This sort of goes continuous. And not only this subtle level mind continues, but the subtle body also continues with the mind itself. Now, when we say subtle body, I'm not referring to this bone and this thing. I'm referring to wind, subtle wind, which carry the mind towards the next life. Just imagine subtler, without the wind, your mind cannot make a movement. Mind is like just aware and be present. Where you go, you see, absorb things. But to let that go distraction, the wind work in our body. That is called the wind element, or the subtle wind. So this subtle body wind and subtle body of sort of consciousness goes together to the next lifetime, next rebirth when you take. And then when you talk about the DNA and these things, of course, this DNA is not with the consciousness. Because consciousness and the body is separate entity. This consciousness cannot produce body. Our body is produced by the mother blood and the further combination of mother blood and serum. And of course, as you talk about the DNA, these were included on that, sort of remain on that, and not remain on the consciousness.
So this might also is related to like shared kind of karma. So your karma can sometimes affect your children's karma. Where you live, like your country's karma can also affect everybody in the same country. So this, even though your consciousness is not just for you, but it's for all those who are connected to your ancestors.
No, yeah.
Because you have a shared karma in that sense. can go on forever sort of thing, you know, because you passed on your DNA for those who are around you.
I mean, you share your individual karma can be shared to the whole other people.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, say for example, a country's action, it affects everybody in the country.
Yes, yes.
But if I have a children, then my karma will kind of pass on, like my death or whatever, because of my action, it's been passed on to the children. And if I have made a nice life for myself, my children will have a nice life. Maybe that's his karma, but also it's because of my work that it's been passed on to my children. So it's kind of like this. I feel like there's a shared kind of
no. Karma cannot be shared. Karma cannot be shared. That is very strange will be happened. For example, even you think you have given a good life to your children, the children won't accept that. You say, I deserve that. You know, you even how good you are going to be good to you. He can't so he believe that my father sort of given to me. He say he will have a different perceptions. It's matter, right? Different perception. Now you can't force them that because you have good life. They don't accept that. Now how then? It doesn't mean that you are very good, your children will be good. No.
I'm saying that they accept, but it's because of karma is my action. So because of my action, it relates to whoever, like, you know, pass it on to.
Yes, of course, your action can impact other people.
So
yes,
they are benefiting from my action. But also, it's like if I have passed on like my knowledge and understanding, then that kind of like, in a sense, is like similar to my consciousness being passed on, say, like Buddha's teaching that has been passed on for centuries. Because the Buddha has passed away in life to work, but his consciousness is still alive in his teaching, which is being passed on from people to people. The
knowledge and the karma is different now. Knowledge is different. Karma is something that is imprinted in you. Imprinted in you. For example, for take an example that, okay. For example, you have twins. You have twins, you know, and both look similar, but no differences because you have twins. But even you have twins, now physically they might look same. There are no differences. But mentally, there will be huge differences to them. Because even they are passed from your own action or you by you, but in the sense of mental, there are huge differences between two people. Even the with two people. So therefore, karma is actually the individual itself. But of course, as you mentioned, there is a common karma. Every action people then is considered common karma as well. But individual karma sort of thing cannot be passed or cannot be sort of given to other people like knowledge, giving knowledge to other people. Sorry? Okay, when you say Buddha, it means enlightened.
Yeah, or anyone.
Sorry?
Anyone that reaches Buddhism.
What happens when we get enlightened? That means that we are not talking about something places there that we are going over there. Enlightenment means just actualizing the reality. When you actualize the reality.
Sure, when people die.
It means Buddha die or people die?
Anyone that's enlightened, when they die and then when they die, what happens to their soul?
That doesn't take rebirth. That's no rebirth.
It doesn't take
rebirth. No rebirth.
So where do they go?
It's like ever present. Buddha is like ever present. How you define? Buddha is like nothing that is like a person that is going to be brought here, die, and come back again. It's not like when we say enlightened, you just think like something you have actualized. You have go beyond the what we call cycle of the birth and death. There is nothing they are going to return back, nothing to take it to birth again. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. For example, you all are blind. Okay, and I'm not blind. I'm a Buddha, for example. For example, I'm Buddha, I'm not blind. You all are blind because you're not enlightened. And because I see you all wandering in the darkness because of blind, okay, you're wandering there. And again, the Buddha is such, now you have understand you are blind, you don't know the way, you don't know the where to go, you're wandering in that. Buddha have such a compassion. They will again, maybe come again in this world to have sentient being in different form and different sort of appearance, come back to have sentient being. But you can say take a rebirth like us human being. Because we human being take rebirth because of we don't authority. But Buddha, they can manifest in many things. Because they have what we call total authority wherever they want to born, wherever they sort of have to sentient being. So there's two ways of taking rebirth. One is by karma, that we don't have authority, and one is they are free of this cycle. They don't have to go according to karma. So they can do whatever they want. They can come to have sentient being in a different form and manifestations. Like a knowledge. Anything.
Like a kind of angelic form or
anything.
Or...
In Sutra, say Buddha can be a bridge. Buddha can be a tree, Buddha can be a jungle, where people are thirsty, Buddha can be a water, anything. There is no form. Anything.
We have another question.
Khempo, in the talk, he mentions other religious traditions. And I was wondering, in the Buddhist sutras, the texts, if they talk about that you've developed merit in your lifetime, would you be more likely to be reborn in a Buddhist community with access to Buddhist teachers, or could you also develop merit and then be born in a different religious context?
Yeah, of course. It depends on, anything can happen. This depends on your merit as well. For example, you have done aspiration prayer that I may birth in a Buddha place, or where the Buddha's teaching is there, then you can be relevant there. Or you have a good merit. Merit can be a different way. It doesn't mean certainly thing happen with the same thing. Okay, so merit play a different role. The merit doesn't mean a single thing. For example, okay, I'll give you any example. For example, the dog that is take rebirth into India and the dog that has rebirth into England now have a different situation. Okay, even the dog take birth in England, even this dog doesn't get enough merit to take rebirth as a human being, but he has getting a more luxury life and more comfort life than the human being in India. Okay, now even though this dog hasn't constituted a merit to be a human, but he has accumulated another merit to have a good life, more comfortable than the human being human in the India itself. So that's why merit play a different role. It has a different sort of aspect. For example, if you're very what we call patient right now, you're so patient, you don't get angry, but you're so stingy. You are not generous. You're not generous. Okay, you're so stingy. You can't even give $1 to anyone. Stingy. Okay, being so patient, do not get fed. These get result you into a very handsome, what we call appearance in next lifetime. But you will be a poor because being stingy. Now, one thing you have something good, another thing you have something negative. So in this way, the merit play a different role in different place. They can't guarantee it happened to one thing. Even one condition become bad to one thing, but this condition can be a good thing to another places, another conditions, situation.
It's not related to the teaching of the book, but I would like to know, maybe you can do it later, but I would like to know where to the Dzogchen in India, for example. Where in India we should go if we are interested to Dzogchen and to this kind of teaching now.
There is a lot of monastery in Nepal right now, comparing to India. Nepal have a good sort of courses for foreigners, according to your own sort of research or whatever interested you are like to. So you can go to those monasteries and then can really learn there, go have a good teacher. And then when you talk about the Dzogchen is something a very high sort of teachings. It's not like you have to go to direct access there. You have to go through a lot of sort of preliminary teachings and preliminary practice and so on in order to really sort of understand the teaching of Dzogchens. So again, there are a lot of sort of conditions there. You have to require empowerment, all this teacher, get an authentic teacher and so on. And then you slowly go above level by level up. You can't directly go to the Dzogchen teaching directly over there. So first you have to some basic idea of the teaching itself. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. You can go to a Nepal monastery. There are a lot of monasteries there who give a basic study about the Buddhism and Dzogchen as well. Yeah, again, yeah. Like Rigpa, right? Yes. And so on.
Any last questions? No, then we wish to thank you very much, Kampola. It was really very nice to have you here in London. And this is a small gift from us.
Oh, thank you.
It's a book.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is a book of a Tantra, the Medjung Tantra.